Hello and welcome to Chattercade Podcast, where we walk you through to the best of our abilities, scene by scene of a movie, and give our opinion on the scene in question. I'm your host, Dranking Thomas Hughes.
I am Sam Hayden, and this film's fucking spectacular! There you go.
You missed your nickname, that's Licola.
Eh,
I gave you one job.
doesn't matter. I wanted to do
One
that for.
fucking job. And you did better than the job.
Hey,
Because it is fucking spectacular.
hey.
So,
That's cool.
I guess we're today discussing Kingsman The Golden Circle, released in 2017 and serving as the sequel to The Secret Service of 3 years prior. I don't know why I did have to get that in my head. Matthew Vaughn once again returns alongside the returning Taron Egerton, Colin Firth, Sophia Cookson, Edward Holcroft, and Mark Strong. There's a couple more returns, but this is the major bunch. So joining them on this new adventure is Julianne Moore from such films as Non-Stop, Seventh Son, both parts of the Hunger Game Mockingjay, and Carrie, just to name a few.
That's right.
Alongside her, we have Michael Gambon from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban onwards, where he took over the role of Dumbledore from the late Richard Harris.
Correct.
He also appeared in the Christmas episode of Doctor Who in 2010.
Indeed.
He was like the rip-off Scrooge, wasn't
Yeah, it was the
he?
old version.
At first, I was like, oh, I saw it in Doctor Who, I better write that down. And then I was like, wait, I just remembered which episode it was. It was a fucking Christmas. Yeah. I was like, yeah, write it down. So we also have Channing Tatum from 21 Jump Street and its sequel, 22 Jump Street.
And Magic Mike.
Beat me to it. I was going to say White House Down, then Magic Mike, and its sequel, Magic Mike XL. He's also in G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, and Retaliation. Oh, and he was the main star of the Marvel movie Gambit. Oh, sorry. That never got made. Don't know why that's in my notes.
You sound but hurt.
Not really. I didn't really give a shit about that movie being made. I like Gambit, but I just don't see Channing Tatum as Gambit. If you're going to make a Gambit movie, you get the Taylor Kitsch from the X-Men Origins one. He's probably the best part of that movie. He's a good Gambit. I know Channing Tatum can nail the accent, but I don't know. Seems a bit buff to be Gambit. He just seems too buff to be Gambit. Anyway, we also have Halle Berry from the X-Men movies.
Ironically.
Storm in those. Yep, ironic. We also have... She was in John Wick Chapter 3.
In Catwoman.
Wait for it. The James Bond movie Die Another Day with Pierce Brosnan. And, as you say, the god-awful Catwoman movie. We then have Jeff Bridges from Iron Man, R.I.P.D. Both Tron movies, True Grit, and do you want to know something ironic, Hayden? Because we've been talking about how well the modern version's been doing at the moment. He was also in the 1976 King Kong movie.
Really?
Yeah, he was the main star of the 76 one, which isn't the best, but it's okay. It's not the worst movie I've seen. But it's no, Kong Skull Island or original or Peter Jackson's Kong, but it's it's better than that whatever that Japanese one they did of it was. That was weird. Mecha fucking Kong. Why did they always have to make a mecha version of everything?
Because, I don't know, robot. Oh, well, at least it's not that Almighty Joe.
What, Mighty Joe Young?
Remember that?
What the one with Bill Paxton? I like that.
The one where basically the same concept, really. Giant ape.
Yeah, but I like Bill Paxton, so I enjoyed that. Alright.
I vaguely remember it. All I remember is the big ass gorilla. That's all I remember, really.
Anyway, we also have Pedro Pascal from Game of Thrones, The Great War, Narcos. He was in the last year's Triple Frontier on Netflix, the movie with Ben Affleck was in it, and my favourite role he's been in, The Mandalorian, because he is Mando.
I think everyone loves Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Mostly for the Baby Yoda, to be honest.
Sorry, it's called The Child. That. Get it right. You can't call it Baby Yoda.
That's what everyone calls it, okay?
It's the child, goddammit!
Everyone calls it.
Anyway, and finally we have Sir Elton John.
Oh my god.
He's been a part of tons of movies, like one of the best parts of this movie. He's mainly known, obviously, for movie soundtracks,
Mm-hmm.
like his most famous work, which obviously got him an Oscar, which is The Lion
Mm.
King.
Yeah.
But he was also, wasn't he in Romeo and Juliet? No, he did the soundtrack at least for Romeo and Juliet.
Probably.
But
But
as you say, he's the best part of this fucking movie.
oh my god, yeah.
He's
Oh
it's so over the top performance at times when he's just swearing, but
yeah.
it's
Fuck.
hilarious to watch.
I
So
also love how ironic it is as well though.
yeah, no.
With
As we said last time,
mm,
because Taron Egerton went on to do Rocket Man like 2 years after this movie, was it?
I think so.
It come out last year, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
And it's quite ironic. Obviously, he was in this, and next minute he's playing Elton. It's ironic, but it's still amazing that he's in this movie. So anyway,
Mm.
the movie focuses on the surviving Kingsman members after their headquarters are destroyed, as they head over to
Boom.
their allied agency in the US to team up and save the world from the latest threat, Poppy, who makes drugs.
Dude, drug dealer.
I do like with these two movies, they go a bit more like modern with the sort of antagonist's plan. So the
Mm-hmm.
first one was like SIM cards. This one,
Yeah.
it's fucking drugs. It's quite
Like very different.
modern. It's
Yeah.
very yeah.
Modern.
Usually it's just like villains want to like, annihilate the world or just take over. But these
Yeah.
like, oh, we're gonna do it like, in a modern way, drugs and obviously technology, which is a bit different to what you used to see, which is nice.
Usually it's just a nuke. Let's nuke the world. Whatever. But this one's more like a
Let's
very
drug the world.
it's still quite a scientific, like sci-fi kind of
Oh
concept.
bollocks!
Obviously, we don't know.
Poured my drink all over myself.
You
I'm gonna have to sit for this recording with Pepsi Max all over my leg.
used to sitting in your own wetness.
Lovely. Oh, fuck's sake. Anyway, so let's start this then. So the movie opens with Eggsy leaving the Kingsman shop and being greeted by Charlie, who's now bald.
Mm-hmm.
He
Forgetting
pulls
though,
what?
how it actually opens though is to bagpipe sounding of country roads. I wonder what that's going to be foreshadowing. I wonder what's that going to foreshadow. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah,
But yeah,
Eggsy's all suited and booted, and Charlie's all
shabby.
looking like a thug.
Yeah, he pulls a gun on Eggsy and like, forces him inside his cab. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, Eggsy turns the table very quickly and
Because it's cool.
drags him in instead and starts beating him down. And obviously, the two begin this
Mm.
brawl where Charlie reveals that he's effectively not affected by
He's
the
got
electric charge anymore,
yeah,
and he's got a robotic arm,
yeah. That's the main thing. He's
which
got a big
we'll
robot
reveal
arm.
later on why he has that.
Oh, I wonder why he has it. Obviously,
Egg-
like straight away, like the fight scenes feel exactly the same as the old one.
I'm pretty certain
Brilliant.
that was the scene that was shot in Birmingham. There's one of the scenes in this movie that
Mm,
was shot in Brum, and I think it
yeah,
was that fight scene, if I remember correctly reading.
probably. Best place to find violence is in Birmingham. So there you go.
It's a bit ironic as what happened yesterday, but I won't go into detail with that on cut
Yeah,
chat.
what?
I'll,
Okay,
I'll show you the
let's
news.
continue.
Yeah, but anyway, so I guess he's eventually
Mm.
thrown out the taxi and does some cool tricks to dodge cars and just in general stay attached to the taxi.
Yeah.
He then
Well,
makes his,
also to Prince, isn't it? Like the song, Prince song, pumps on. Well, as they're fighting,
there's a lot of like,
basically, we're not taking it seriously. Basically, like most like spy films are all like proper with the action. Like they have the music fitting and all that, whereas they go a bit different and to show they're not really taking themselves seriously at all.
yeah, but
It's
look at
still a great film.
the
It's
later
really,
sort of scenes as well. They do the exact same sort of thing with that. The fight scenes, so
yeah,
them have like pop music over the background. It's like
it's their
it
style, really.
works. But yeah, anyway, so he eventually makes his way back in through the boot of the taxi and tries to stab Charlie with his shoe blade, but ends up stabbing the driver, which causes them to crash.
Yeah, because Charlie breaks the metal, don't he? He flings off.
Yeah, it stabs the guy in the neck. He's like, ugh. And
Something
Eggsy then just takes over the taxi and flees.
while they're following like people got massive Gatling guns.
Yeah, they've all got mounted miniguns on top of their fucking cars,
Mm.
and Eggs is just there trying to drive and get out through, all this traffic that's happening. A lot of traffic, and he eventually has to go through the park, and he activates a missile, which shoots 3 smaller missiles, and destroys all the enemy cars. But
There's no longer any civilians.
yeah,
Pretty much why.
but then he's like, "Oh, but am I going to get out of here? There's cops on the way. I'll just drive into this pond right here." But I got no way.
Merlin's in his ear saying, just drive into the pond. Like, you are got a fucking window shield. Remember correctly from your training. You can hold your breath quite well.
You're a nerd for this movie.
What?
Anyway, yeah, Eggsy
Wasn't as
drives
accurate.
straight into the water, and it turns into a submarine car. Something
Yeah,
straight from James
submarine
Bond.
taxi.
Starts driving holding his breath, obviously, because he's not. First off, he has just got no windshield. He's also got no fucking back door.
Yeah.
So he's there after fucking drive a flooded taxi into a secret underground hatch, where he's like, "Oh, I need to get out of here. I've got dinner."
You got dinner.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, if you want to leave, there's a hatch like just over there you can go through," which turns out to be a sewer hatch. And he's like, "Okay then, so how much do you want this dinner?"
Let me show you. And just jumps in.
Yeah, he just jumps into it, and then it's revealed that Charlie's robotic hand is actually
It's remote
inside the
controlled.
taxi.
It
Yeah,
can
and he
remote
starts
control.
hacking the system on the taxi before we cut to Eggsy. But I just want to obviously talk about this intro, because obviously this is pretty much the intro here, this little fight sequence. It's a bit not. It's quite nice, to be fair, this intro, because you look at the last intro, obviously it just sort of showcased Colin Firth's character and obviously this little mission. But obviously this movie's full leg scene. It's just like, okay, we'll start with him and do like this cool fight scene. Just let the audience know Charlie's still alive, which obviously as an audience we'd like to know that obviously who he is. Like, straight away, it's like, oh, it's Charlie. There you go. He's still here. He somehow survived. Oh, wonder how. We'll find out later. And obviously, just quite cool, like sort of fight sequence in this using a taxi, which is quite different.
It's really good from jumping straight into the action, which is obviously a lot different. Because obviously we'll get these slow character moments later on, but straight away it's like you go straight into that Kingsman feeling from the first film.
Yeah,
a lot more early on.
Yeah, because even though there's obviously action at the start of the first one, it wasn't major action. It was just like a little explosion. That was it. That was pretty much it. Then obviously it took a while before it built back up into said action. Whereas it's like, oh no, you've already know all this action. Well, let's fucking give it you straight away, which I do respect.
And it's like straight away, like it also shows how the Eggsy now is pretty much
badass,
a badass agent, and it's like it's showing that for him this is probably like a normal Wednesday, pretty much a normal night out, getting attacked randomly. It shows how this is his life now.
So when you say Wednesday, I started humming the song in my head from later.
That's why I said Wednesday.
I thought that's why you said it. I was like, is she saying it because of one thing she's saying it? We'll find out. But anyway, Eggsy makes it home. He's greeted by his girlfriend, this Swedish princess from the first movie, who liked it in the bum. And he's covered in shit, and tricks her into kissing him, but obviously stops before she does, since he's covered in shit.
I shouldn't do that. Now that is love.
It then cuts them laughing and celebrating their friend's birthday before we learn Eggsy's having dinner with her parents the following day. So his one mate obviously says he'll watch his dog for him.
JB.
So, yeah. Literally, we don't even know who. It's the first one. It's sort of obviously cut straight into the sort of the two mates, and we sort of, you got to know who they are, and obviously this one, it's sort of like, oh yeah, somehow he's now got rid of one of those mates, and we've got two brand new ones here.
No, I think they're always like, I think they're supposed to be like the same, but like just recasted.
Well,
like,
the one would be the one's just brand new.
Oh yeah, that one is literally recast. That's the guy from This Is England, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the guy from This Is England. A kid.
But
yeah, I think I would say it's probably meant to be sort of a recast of that one, maybe. But I
Mm,
mean, the other one is just a random new guy. Wow, for a guy who's like a secret agent, he's got a lot of time to make new friends.
you know, life.
Yeah, but anyway, so we cut to a secret location where we hear Poppy, played by the very talented Julian Moore, talking over the footage before we cut to her talking with two men inside, which ends in her telling the one to basically put the other in the mincer since he's fucked
Mm-hmm.
up. And he tries to run off. Some robot dogs appear from her whistling, and the other guy just walks over, just beats him down, picks him up, and drops him into this mincer. And before Poppy tells him to head over to the salon and get his makeover, while she makes
Mm-hmm.
a burger from the dead guy. Yep,
Oh,
there's a lot of
lovely.
cannibalism in this movie.
I mean,
Though obviously, I will say this in the outro as well. Though this is probably my one letdown. I preferred the villain in the first movie.
mm,
I did like her as a villain, but I
yeah.
I think Sam Jackson's the better villain.
That's because it's Sam Jackson, but
Yeah,
I do think she's a good villain though. Like
she's good, but
she plays that like emotionless, like dead-eyed like villain, while mixing it with this what seems like a innocent, happy mothering type, the old American mothering type. And it blends eerily well. Like she just seemed quite unsettling when there's times when she's like smiling and you can tell she's not. There's like no empathy there whatsoever, and it is unsettling but good.
yeah,
So,
don't
yeah,
get me wrong. She is good, but
mm,
she's no Sam Jackson villain from the first one. I think Valentine was a cooler villain.
he was
Just because
more
he was more in the public, he was just literally out there, and
yeah,
he was just doing all this, and no one knew. Whereas this, obviously, as she points out later on, she's essentially a nobody. No one knows who she is.
but I think that's the whole point
Yeah,
of the whole story.
yeah, that does work, but I did prefer the sort of plot device of the first one.
That I wouldn't have a proper like well-known person wouldn't have worked in this story for a villain. This worked better for this
Obviously,
story.
obviously not,
So
but I still think
mm,
I just like the fact that he can't stomach violence in the first one. I think that really just sells him as the bad guy for the fact that he's doing this really bad guy stuff, and yet somehow he can't has the stomach for blood and everything, which is
mm.
humorous.
I think about that makes her like the opposite. You would think she couldn't, but then she's literally making meat out of a random guy. So it's like a big way to differentiate the villains. You don't want the exact same trait.
Well, obviously
It'd
not,
be
but
boring. So
I just think his villain is a bit more unique than most villains out there.
mm,
That's why I think he sort of changed the game in the sense of villainous. Whereas, as you say, she does do a really good job, but it's hard to beat. Very hard to try and top him.
mm.
But yeah, so where are we now? We cut to eggs in the morning, is it?
It
Where
goes
he's
from their house to him, yeah, and then
where he's greeted obviously by her at the dinner table. She's like wanting to
yeah,
practice eating, but he's like, "Oh no, I got this." And it cuts to him and Harry in a flashback with Harry
mm-hmm.
teaching him. I'm assuming that was similar time,
During
maybe when he was like, "Oh, I'll show you to be a gentleman." I'm assuming
yeah,
that was around that time.
that was that, yeah,
And he's like, knows about forks and stuff like that.
and like martinis and shit.
Yeah. And then obviously we cut back to exit return to the Kingsman, where he meets Roxy and the new Arthur, played by Michael Gambon. Merlin then appears and briefs him on Charlie, where we learn that
mm,
when Eggsy electrocuted Charlie in the neck last time, he actually caused the bomb in his neck to fuck up and blow off his arm instead. So,
mm.
he's welcome that he's still alive. And
And they show like an image of the video of all of them being blown up, and obviously, Merlin acts quite like sensible with it. Like, and then obviously Eggsy being Eggsy is like, sure it isn't all fucking spectacular straight away, and the accent is just beautiful. It's a good callback. It's a good callback.
So I swerved away from even mentioning it. I was
It
like,
works.
I'm trying to
though.
cut from it really quickly before you try and do the accent once again.
But come on, it works like character-wise. He would like Eggsy would be
How
like
many times do you want to say
joking
this?
during it. Come on,
How many times do you want to say that line over and over again?
a lot.
I'm going to montage you just saying the line.
You say
Anyway.
a lot too.
Oh, yeah, I've said it once. You've said it twice now.
Oh, such big numbers.
Exactly. Big numbers.
Can you even count past 2?
1.
Check, mate.
Oh, fuck. Anyway, so we learn about he's working for a secret organisation, but we don't know who. We just know there's obviously a golden circle tattoo involved.
I wonder what. Roll credits.
So we then cut to Poppy's new recruit in the salon, who's having a makeover, which is where he has all his ways to identify him, like, you know, specific teeth, fingerprints, etc. removed, which is similar to the guys in the car chasing after Eggsy, which we learned about just before. So obviously to cut from that to this, it makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, this is why they don't have these, because she's fucking got rid of them more.
Yeah.
He also obviously has the golden circle marking stamped on him before he returns to the diner, and basically eats the burger she made from the dead guy. I go, lovely,
Delicious.
it's like fucking what's his name? Ray Liotta in Hannibal, when he's eating his own brain. He's like,
Is it more concerning that I was more disgusted by the fact that he was eating cheese than he was eating person?
Probably, but that's a shame.
Yeah, I'd be like, take cheese off and I'll be fine.
Anyway, cut back to Eggsy. He's having obviously the dinner there with the princess's parents.
Yeah,
he's a bit of an arsehole dad, but he then starts asking Eggsy a lot of questions, important grown-up questions, smart people stuff,
which he answers really well. I wonder how he's answering this really well.
Well, it's revealed Roxy's on the other end of his glasses, telling him all the important stuff he needs to know, while also researching the golden circle tattoo. Eggsy's friend is obviously watching his JB at this time. He eventually stumbles into the office and puts on the glasses, allowing Eggsy to he's there, and also him to see Eggsy at his dinner. And he pulls out the lighter grenade to light, obviously, one of his is it a cigarette he was trying to light?
A cigar, I think.
Thought it was.
But
yeah, he tries to light it, and he's like, "Put that down!" And he starts yelling at him, but he looks like he's yelling at the prince. Sorry, the
king.
The king. Ignore me. He starts yelling at him, and he's like, "Put it fucking down now!" And he's like, "All right, mate. All right, bruv, calm down." And I just love the fact it looks like he's yelling at him.
Yeah.
And he's just like, whoa, put what down? Put my cup of tea down or what? Put it fucking down.
He's like, oh, sorry, not you. And then obviously on the cameras, we see
a missile blow the shit out of every Kingsman agent, including Eggsy's home, so killing his mate and his dog, killing Roxy,
which is
Arthur.
Fucking annoying.
I just love Arthur's death. Though I would love to see Michael Gambon more in this movie to see if he could equal Michael Caine in the first movie.
Yeah.
But for him to go out just going, "Oh fuck,"
as
he blows up. I respect that. I respect the deaths of most characters in this these two movies. Though sometimes I'm annoyed when the character dies. I do respect when they die. Their sort of final actions. And obviously, Arthur's got to be a top one for this sort of candidate.
The best one we'll come to later on.
Yep. So anyway, the source of the missile is then revealed to be Poppy, who's currently at a bowling alley, making bad puns about crumpets.
Yeah, the Kingsmen are crumpets, like toast, but British.
I'm surprised Charlie just didn't go, fuck this, I'm out of here.
But yeah, to be fair though,
stop ridiculing us Brits.
Kill him straight away. He's probably knowing she's unhinged. Just laugh and nod. But yes, I have funny jokes. Ha.
Yeah, but she gives him a new arm now, which you could just choke it.
Dead in. She can probably control that arm. Maybe. Is remote control, remember?
Yeah.
Or is it? I wonder if that come in handy at one point.
He tests the arm strength.
Come in handy.
Yeah, I get the joke. Can we carry on, please?
No.
So he obviously tests the strength and his new arm by just launching a bowling ball out of the building.
It smashes through the entire wall.
That's not how you play
Do
bowling.
you think that'll come to play as well later on?
Yeah. Stop hinting at stuff. So Eggsy returns then to his destroyed house and he's greeted by Merlin, the only other survivor. The two argue.
Because it looks suspicious on both ends.
And they're like, oh, you think I did it? Oh, no, you think I did it? It's like that. And then Merlin activates the Doomsday Protocol and they cut to a wine shop where they enter a back room and open a safe which contains a bottle of Statesman, which they drink. The two toast their fallen comrades by, basically drinking his bottle. And Merlin ends up this drunk crying and a drunk eggs. He's like trying to calm him down. He's like, "Oh no, it's not your fault." And he's like, "Oh, let's toast to Scotland." He's like, "I think you've had enough." That or the fact that or the fact he's trying to toast to Scotland. Who wants to toast to Scotland? Oh no, there we go. We lost a fucking load of viewers now.
You fucking right. You lose me as well.
Bye then.
Fuck you, mate. Nah. Obviously, like as he's drinking, at the end of the bottle, obviously Eggsy sees
Made in Kentucky.
Made in Kentucky, but the K for their symbol.
I love fried chicken.
Looks like we're going to Kentucky. Fried chicken. I fucking love fried chicken.
But it's not that kind of fried chicken, Merlin. It's the place Kentucky. Which ends in Merlin drunkenly singing Country Road.
Yeah, because obviously you guys say, I love country music. Start singing that. I wonder if that'll come into play later on.
Stop fucking hinting! The two then arrive in Kentucky and break into a building before Tequila, played by Channing Tatum, arrives and holds them at gunpoint. Which, when because he's burst the what do you call them? It's a drum, isn't it?
The
barrel drum.
I'm not a fucking alcoholic.
He bursts that. He puts his finger against it, removes his finger, and it starts pouring out the liquid. And then obviously Tequila spits his
tobacco thing.
Tobacco thing. I was gonna say gum, but it's not gum. It's fucking black. He spits it, and he's like, "Oh, you just made this personal because that's like a vintage brand of booze."
963.
That was awful.
That was supposed to be awful.
Merlin tried to fight him off. Well, Eggsy does at least. Merlin's knocked out instantly.
Oh, yeah, because he's not exactly a fighting person. He's the scientist.
Yeah, Eggsy's eventually stunned by his own watch before they both wake up in a viewing room, talking to Tequila, who mentions a doctor before he pours a bottle of whiskey all over him. All over them, sorry. And they're like, "Oh, what the fuck, man?" And he basically
you can take your whiskey, which, by the way, is spelled without an E. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, he tries to light him on fire. And obviously, so Merlin tells him to go fuck himself. And then Eggsy's like, "Oh, Merlin said it correctly. Go fuck yourself."
Eggsy's like, "No, I'm not really. I'm quite like whiskey, but yeah." He forgot with the go fuck yourself.
Something on Coke he said, didn't he? He likes that.
Yeah, I'm more of a rum and coke or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And he obviously, he says go fuck yourself. So it forces Tequila to reveal the doctor, who's actually Harry, who survived, but he's got an eye patch.
Who would have thought that happened this entire time? We all thought he was dead, but like I said it in the last one, that he survived.
Or the fact that
all the trailers said it.
Or the fact I've already mentioned him in the intro.
That as well.
So
he thought he'd live.
He threatens to shoot him until Ginger, played by Halle Berry, arrives and stops him. Cleans them both up and hands Tequila a Kingsman umbrella from their Doomsday locker.
But with their symbol on it.
Yeah. And the two enter the room and Eggsy tries to hug Harry, but he pushes him away. He's like, "Oh, do I know you?" Merlin shakes his hand, but they try to tell him, obviously, code words about their shoes. And he's like, "You trying to tell me about your shoes?" He doesn't have a clue. And
I study butterflies.
Yeah, he studies butterflies now. And they obviously leave, and outside Ginger tells them that he has amnesia before we cut to a flashback. And obviously in the flashback,
how they did it.
Yeah, we see Ginger pick up the SIM card signal from the first movie's church incident. and she orders Tequila to take her to the location, and they go by chopper. But obviously, between that chopper arriving and them leaving, you see Sam Jackson obviously shoot Harry in the head,
Mhm.
and they arrive, find Harry with a headshot wound. She puts like a weird like
Alpha
device.
gel.
Yeah, she puts like a the thing around his head, and she injects him with the obviously gel to it up, and basically they saved him. And she then tells them that she took him back to Statesman and used nanites to heal him properly. But
Mhm.
obviously, side effects are nanites. I mean, nanites. Fucking side effects are,
Retrograde amnesia.
yeah, that's the word, amnesia. But since they are here, they might be able to help him remember. Cut back to
Ooh.
Poppy. And she and Charlie listen to Elton John since she kidnapped him during the Valentine kidnapping, since no one noticed.
Another nice callback.
Yeah, and Elton begins to have blue lines cover his face, which should eventually kill him, as told by Poppy. But she
Mhm.
tells him that, I'll save you if you tell me who gave you the drugs, basically. And he's like, oh, it's Angel,
Angel.
the new recruit from earlier on. And Poppy's like, I'm going to clip his wings. Before we head back to Statesman, where we meet Champagne, or Champ,
Mhm.
as they call him. He's played by Jeff Bridges. Jeff
Hey.
Bridges! And he
Deep
took,
voice guy.
yeah, he talks about what they know before blue lines begin to appear on Tequila's face. After he's like, "Oh, you and Eggsy go off," and he's like, "Oh yeah," saying, and blue lines. He's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, get yourself back into Meg Bay. Give him glasses though." So he gives Eggsy the glasses, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna go out with my top senior agent. He's in New York currently." And he puts the glasses on, and there's Agent Whiskey, played by Pedro Pascal. And he's like, "Come on, we got ourselves a music festival to go to." I didn't bother doing the accent. I was gonna, but I chickened out at the last second.
You did it all the fucking time. You playing Last of Us.
Well.
Oh God, no! It started.
We got ourselves a music festival to go to.
Pretty
So
much you mentioned a lot about a girl
yeah, and she's at
doing
Glastonbury.
girls as usual.
And then we cut to Merlin and Ginger as they talk about Harry and say they must cause like a memory to cause the amnesia to go away. So they flood the room similar to how they are in the recruits in the first one. And it looks like he's gonna actually smash the glass. She's like, "Oh,
Like
he's got
did.
this." But then he just begins to drown. He's like, and Merlin's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and stops the water, and he runs in to check on him. And he's like, tries to tell Harry about Harry's past in the Kingsman, but he's like, "Oh no, that's not me. It doesn't sound like me." And Ginger's like, "Oh, we must let him go." And then we cut to Eggsy, who's currently with the princess, who has a new puppy, which is a way to bring him back home. You know, we then get my GTA horn honk outside. Sorry, I'm just waiting for a friend. And, well, Whiskey's outside honking his horn. And inside, she tells him, you know, if he's going to save the world again, he knows what that means. Bum time.
a backstage pass.
That's what he'll be getting later on. Fucking Harry. When he said that, that's what I thought. Does he mean an actual backstage pass, or
That was the joke.
rude sense? But yeah. Anyway, so two agents then head off to Glastonbury with a tracking device which goes on your finger. It basically looks like a condom. And at the festival, Exit sort of realizes that the only way he can get this onto the target is to basically stick your finger up a vagina.
Yeah, nicely put there.
It was very nicely put. So Whiskey heads over to try and chat the target, but very much fails, which causes Eggs to head over and basically fuck him off before successfully chatting her up.
Another nice little callback to the first film, where obviously one of their tests was to get
chat her up.
Chat her up, and obviously it shows how different he is now as well. Because obviously back then he was more like he was taking it seriously.
His champagne tastes funny.
It's tastes like shit. But obviously in this one he's a lot more calculated now, and he sort of knows how to do it.
Yeah, and in the process, obviously, of chatting her up, he managed to spot blue lines on one of the women behind, and he takes a picture and sends it to statesman, and
Because it's exactly the same as
Tequila,
yeah.
who's now fully hospitalised and unconscious because of this. I just love the bit in the bit when he starts dancing.
Now I'm spoiling.
Anyway, so at Poppy's base, she talks to Charlie about wanting people to know who she is before Angel enters, and she basically like sicks the dogs on him because he's now got the blue lines. He runs out as Elton John's just sitting by the dog hatches. I just the way he's just sitting there. It's like a naughty child on the step. He's like, oh, and obviously the dogs barge past him, and he has to watch as they basically tear this guy apart before they charge at Elton, and you are then shown that they will not attack him because on their system he's actually labelled up as friend, so they sit down and just act like normal dogs. Like,
I wonder if that will.
Yep. So back at the festival, Eggsy ends up getting inside the tent of the target who wants him to piss on him. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because he says, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom." He's like, "Oh, you can do it on me if you want." He's just like,
Maybe later.
And he obviously heads to the toilet and calls his girlfriend to ask her permission to basically screw this woman, which leads to what she believes is a proposal, but obviously it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And he tries to obviously tell her no.
Backtracks a little bit.
She's like, "Do what you want," just hangs up. And
yeah.
Like, oh no. And he heads out and he's greeted by obviously the target in her dressing gown, but she removes to show off her underwear. And he's like, no, I can't do this. But then she turns around and he sees the golden tattoo on her back. And he's like, I'm going to do this. So little smoochy, slippy the thingy. And we cut to Merlin and Ginger, who basically sit back and talk while hearing them moaning over the monitors. Similar to Merlin, obviously witnessing the certain act at the end of the first one. He's like, "Oh, better close that." But this time they're just hearing it rather than seeing it.
And she's like, "Oh, I've seen whiskey this many times."
Because Tequila, by saying it, just bangs a lot of chicks for the missions.
Yeah, if you are.
It's kind of like, well, okay, so we need a guy an actor, I should say, who's like really buff and like the ladies' magnet to play a character that basically will be referred to as the guy who bangs a lot of women for missions. Oh, let's get Channing Tatum.
I mean, let's be honest, he doesn't really need to seduce anyone. He just walks up to them and they're like, here's my ovaries. Have them.
But yeah, we cut back to Eggsy, who runs out on the target since he's done the business now. And he said that thing, and he's like, "No, I can't do this. I got a girlfriend."
He doesn't go too far. She goes with, I'm with someone as well.
But what happens in Glastonbury stays in Glastonbury. And he's like, "I can't do this." So he runs off, tries to call his girlfriend, but she refuses to answer. He then obviously calls the hotel, and the hotel clerk's like, "Oh, she's just checked out," but she's actually there going, "Shh, I'm not here." And she's there crying, and it cuts then to Eggsy, who returns to the States and talks to Harry and tries to convince him who he really is. But similar to Merlin, he fails and has to leave. We then obviously rejoin him at the bar, drinking his sorrows away, thinking about Harry, before trying to phone his girlfriend again. Again, no luck. So he drinks some more and texts her instead. But when it cuts to her, she's obviously smoking, which, is a hint to something in a bit. And shouts out loud just to give it up. While Eggsy's obviously wallowing in his self-pity, he looks at some images of them and remembers his dog and remembers that she brought him a puppy, which
obviously remembers. Hang on a minute, didn't Harry had a dog as well?
Yeah, he obviously caused him to remember Mr. Pickle. And he's like, wait, so if she brought me a puppy to sort of remind me of JB, maybe I could do the same for Harry. So he obviously runs off, gets a dog, comes back, and he's like, wakes Harry up, and he's like, here. He's like, oh, look, a dog, it's a dog. Should I shoot him?
Gets the fucking gun out, and that same like horror noise that happens in the first one never happened.
I just love the reaction from him. He's like, oh, look at his puppy, and all you hear in the background is, should I shoot him? And he just cuts up to him with the gun.
You see his gun pulling the gun out. He's like,
yeah, but then it's obviously blurred slightly in the background, just to obviously focus more on Harry and the dog. And it cuts obviously to an actual image of him with a gun. But it's just his line, how he says it just makes me laugh. And he's like, "Oh no, no, no!" And he tries to back off. He's like, "Oh, what are you mad?" And obviously the memories start flooding back to Harry, which eventually causes him to remember. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's back, bitches. Sort
It was a
of.
blank. It was a fucking blank.
Mr. Pickle lived till he was something, and he died of something.
Pancreas.
Yeah. Details. Got back to the salon. Go to a saloon. Ignore me, not salon. And Harry's given his new gadgets, including a pair of glasses, so he doesn't have to wear the eye patch.
Oh, of course, a new watch that can hack computers remotely.
Yeah, and they're then greeted by a very rude southerner, since Harry's like, "How do I look?" He's like, "I'm not going to say the word," but he's very
You don't Alex
homophobic.
hitting you.
No, I don't want Alex hit me. He's basically very homophobic, and he's like, "I want you all to leave." And Whiskey's there like, "Oh, don't be so rude. These are our guests," and he sort of shoots it then. Harry gets to leave, but attempts to do the iconic line from the first movie, but he's a little rusty, so misses his glass shot. Gets a few hits in, but he's still beaten, especially when the umbrella's pinned against him and the guy just punches him for the umbrella.
Obviously, the whole point is like
He's got his memories back, but he's still
his memories are back, but like he's got to take time for his like depth of perception to get used to. Because obviously, he's now only got one eye. It's gonna be quite hard to like judge.
That, and he's just in general still rusty because obviously he's been doing fuck all for ages. He's got to get back into it, so he's then saved by Whiskey, who steps in with his lasso, which I was going to say again, this fight scenes in these films are just probably one of my favourite parts of it. Very neat rope tricks by just taking them all down. Well, the Brits discuss why Harry isn't 100% yet. I like as well the fact his lasso can turn into like a whip as well, which obviously is how he wins the fight, by just whipping the shit out of everyone.
I like as well is their difference in fighting styles between them.
Yeah.
Because obviously the British ones are a lot more using
the umbrella,
elaborate, really elaborate British suitcase umbrellas and stuff like that. Whereas this one's more whips and baseball bats.
Yeah, which I'll point out again later on.
But it's very a lot more stylized as well in his fight scenes. He's more showy, like show off in his lasso, whereas the British ones are more brutal. Getting in the fight scenes.
In both films, there's at least one character that stands out for me as the best sort of character in the movie. The first one's Colin Firth easily Colin Firth. This one for me, it's Pedro Pascal. I really enjoyed him in this movie. Obviously, because it's a bit different as you say with the lasso and all that. I'm just like, he's got some neat tricks, especially the lighter ones. I'm just like, yeah, I like that. But
I like as well the like Kingsman is like the very stereotypical British gentleman, whereas the like statesman is the very stereotypical cowboy.
Yeah, I do like that.
The contrast is brilliant.
Yeah, I would like to see him do the same for like other sort of countries so they get away with it.
Oh my god, some of them might get a little bit racist.
Yeah, I feel like some definitely would. But yeah, so anyway, we have a Golden Circle advertisement on TV behind them, where Poppy basically reveals her plan, which is a drug in drugs. She tells
virus in drugs.
Yeah, she tells them about what happens if they take this drug, while showing that one of Eggsy's friends has this in his system. Because obviously it cuts to the guy from This Is England smoking his crystal meth or whatever it is.
Heroin.
Is it heroin?
Yeah.
Is it heroin? I thought he was smoking meth. Because he makes a joke later. Yeah, makes a joke later on. He's smoking something, I can't remember. But yeah, so she then reveals, obviously, she has an antidote, which she uses on Elton John. He just begins to swear at her. You fucking bitch!
Bitch! What are you going to be, you fucking bitch?
He turns down to that doctor's eye and goes, get the fuck out of here!
I love that, because while she's talking to the president, like, in this very, like, formalised happiness, in the background, you
Elton John goes, just swearing.
Fuck off!
I like, for acting-wise, I will say, obviously, Pedro Pascal's my favourite, but for comedy-wise, similar to Sam Jackson, the first one, Elton John's my favourite of this movie. It's just funny you don't see Elton John like this, and I just love it as well when you can't hear him in the background. You can clearly tell he's getting like really sweary in the background. You can sort of see him mouthing his words and getting really angry. I do really love that. And obviously, then we get the news reports on Poppy and what is happening in the world, including the dancing stage 2, which we see when Eggsy's friend is obviously dancing in his living room, and Tequila is dancing in the hallways. I just love Eggsy's friends doing this like nice little dance. Here's fucking Chain Tatum just going ba 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 ba.
The most elaborate dancing of a fucking thing.
And obviously they're forced then to put him into cryo freeze, similar to where James is right now.
Dave.
I've got him in cryo right next to me. All right, James.
How's Michael Bublé?
He's next. I'll ask him for you. Is Michael Bublé all right? He's not answering
He can't respond. Yeah, he's frozen, mate.
Sorry, I forgot about that. I always forget he's frozen. I'm always like trying to chat him up. I'm like, oh, you all right, mate? He just never responds. I just call him a twat in the end and walk away.
As usual.
Yeah, usual. But anyway, so we cut to the president who basically tells them to let the druggies die.
Yeah, make it look like he's helping them,
Yeah.
but then let him die in a way.
Yeah.
Because he's
an arsehole.
Oh, I'm a president who won the war on drugs, boy.
He's a right arsehole in this film. I love him in Star Trek, but he's an arsehole in this movie. But yeah, and it's then revealed the statesmen are actually listening to this because their bottle of whiskey's in the Oval Office, and they're like, okay, so what we're gonna do here? And obviously they listen in. Then Charlie starts talking to his girlfriend, and then find out there's a base in Italy, and they're like, okay, let's hurry off to this. And they're all three of them gonna go, and they're like, Whiskey's like, no, just you, just one Galahad. We don't need two. And Eggsy's like, oh no, if I'm going, he's going with me. Because by this point, obviously, they're revealed to both be called Galahad. Since Eggsy took over his mantle when he died in the first one. But with him back now, he's still Galahad, but Harry's also still Galahad. It's very confusing, as pointed out multiple times by characters in this movie. Before we then obviously cut to Italy, where we see Charlie give her the antidote, just as, the boys arrive at the ski lift, where they leave Harry to deal with the control room while they head up. But inside the control room, he attempts to knock the guy out and completely misses with his hair.
So just fucking gets a firing extinguisher and knocks him in the head.
He tries to obviously knock him out with the dart, doesn't he, at first? But misses. And he's like, uh-oh, fair enough. Picks up the fire extinguisher, beats him down. He's like, sorry about that. And he obviously starts hacking in. He's like, okay, you can go up now. So they head up, they head inside. Eggsy tries to sneak in. I wouldn't say sneaking. He literally just walks in. He's like, "Oh, I'm this guy." And he's like, "Oh, okay, here you go." And,
what you're like an Asian name?
Yeah, it was like this Asian guy. He's like, yeah, that's me. But he gives him the antidote, and as soon as he gives it him, Charlie spots him, and he's like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
He's like, how do you fucking survive?
It basically, let's just say, finds out now the little finger before he runs away. Cause he's like, what stays in glass? After the Gillespie stays in Glastonbury. He's like, you fucking. But he runs out, doors shut. They head into the lift. And Harry's just has this weird moment. He's having his panic attack as usual. The butterflies. Luckily, he snaps out and sends the lift down. But Charlie manages to get out, hack the lift, and sends him spinning around. And not like Kylie Minogue.
Oh my god, that's so bad.
Oh, he's spinning around. I'm spinning around. It was I kind of want to put this in there just for the little throwback to the fact the other guys mentions as Kylie Minogue. Australian guy. He's like, one thing I love is Kylie Minogue.
Two things I love is well, Kylie Minogue.
A small dimple.
Guys, always.
No, it was three things actually. It's a small dimple above the woman's arse cheek. But yeah, so they're going spinning. Eventually, Whiskey activates his lasso, which obviously got that burning taser thing part of it, and he cuts a hole through and snaps the cable, which sends him swinging down, and not like Tarzan.
These puns are so bad.
But yeah, so the cable cuts off. They start sliding down this mountain and towards this resort. But luckily, we have a smart exit who slams Whiskey into the hole. And he pulls his parachute with a giant American parachute comes flying out, which eventually causes him to not crash into the old folks who shit themselves. No, really, one admits to shitting himself.
The best shit I've ever had.
It's like other guys just looks at him, he's like, what? It's a funny random line, but it kind of works. But yeah, at the cabin where Whiskey and Eggsy are hiding, they eventually regroup with Harry. But armed soldiers arrive, and Whiskey knocks the antidote out of Eggsy's hand, which smashes on the floor. And while Whiskey heads off to fight the villains, Eggsy tells. Oh, so Harry tells Eggsy he believes Whiskey's bad and working for the enemy, which Eggsy sort of ignores. Like, no, he's not. Since obviously outside, he's like, why would he be doing this? You see outside, Whiskey's just
Literally, he goes like, "Does it look like he's fucking helping them? He's
he's
just
just
shooting them in the
he's
face."
just killing them all really badassly. And he's like, no, he's still working with them. And obviously he heads back in, and he's like, oh, thanks for the help, I didn't need it. More enemies turn up, and Whiskey tries to take Harry's gun, but Harry just shoots him in the face.
Yeah.
And he tries to defend his action for tossing a weird tar monster from Scooby-Doo device out. That takes out the enemy, allowing Eggsy to put the gel on Whiskey's face. He then calls it in, and it's like he's down, but he blames it on being caught in crossfire and not Harry blowing his brains out. But when Eggsy wants to get back into the lab to get more antidote, it's blown up by Charlie. He's like, what happens in Italy stays in Italy. And yeah, so bang, it's gone. So all they have from this now is the name of the guy from the lab. So they're like, okay, we need to track this guy, and they track him down to Cambodia, where they obviously send a drone to try and get out the area. Before we cut to the White House, where we find out the president's right hand sort of woman. She's on drugs. That's why she's sort of defending. Pardon me. She was defending the druggies earlier on, because she's actually on drugs. Because she makes the reference earlier on saying, "Oh, but people are just experimenting and all," because she's on them. As the blue rash starts taking over her face, and he's just like, "Oh, get her out of here!" And he sends her to a cage inside the stadium that they're telling people is like a safe haven for all of them, but in reality, it's just a giant prison or a giant monkey cage.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
a
very
zoo.
Inhuman.
It's a people zoo, basically. But at the
not furries.
Yeah, at Statesman, Merlin regroups with his fellow Kingsmen, where Harry tells him that he shot Whiskey and tells him his theory. Eggsy then takes a phone call where it's revealed that his girlfriend is on drugs as well, and she has the rash. And knowing the stakes now are really high for Eggsy, Merlin and Harry head off to Cambodia without Statesman. And obviously we cut down to Cambodia, and Poppy's lawyer arrives, and he gets a document.
It looks a lot like.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point for the comment later on from that one soldier. And he's like, "Oh, you got another lawyer." I think that's the reason. And he goes in. She's on a call with the president. He's getting some paper. And she's like, "Oh, he's going to bring some documents for you to sign." And the moment, obviously, you sign them, we'll call the drones in, and we'll distribute the antidote. And then obviously you get something cool, and he's like, "Stupid bitch!" The president. Fuck me. It's like Donald Trump. It's like the Trump
almost
president.
like that was the idea.
And he just starts obviously bad mouthing her. And then obviously we cut to them on the plane, isn't it? Harry tries to talk to Eggsy on the plane, but he obviously doesn't want to hear about it. And he's like, okay, then, am I better drink then? And he's like, okay, I'll have a drink. And then Eggsy finally reveals his personal life, and the stakes are how really high now for him. Before obviously Merlin walks in, he's like, okay, then get ready, lads. We're almost there. So he takes them into the other room. He's like, here's your new suits. So they obviously get suited up, but while they're getting suited up, we cut to Whiskey, who's now awake and hitting on Ginger. And obviously that really sort of cringy way. He's like, hey, beautiful. And he's like, what does he say? Something about his room's unlocked or something like that. It's not. There's no one around, so you can moan all you like when you say his name.
Yeah.
It's like really, obviously, kind of a weird, rapey kind of dialogue.
A little bit.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to do this." And she pulls a picture. And he's like, "Oh, who's this beautiful girl?" And she obviously tells him who it is, and all these memories flood back. And
just girlfriend. She obviously died.
But we'll explain that later on.
Yeah,
it's not revealed yet.
I thought that'll come to play later on.
Yeah, and he's like, "Okay, get the silver stallion. Is it something like that?" He's like, "Get it up and ready. I'm going to help Eggsy." But we'll see if he's actually going to help him or not.
He probably will. It's not like he's a double agent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just Harry. Harry's a little bit woozy. That's all.
He then
Yes. Mm.
uh, where am I now? Oh, he obviously she
Um.
tells him obviously where they are
mm,
exactly, and
Yeah.
obviously he runs off. And we cut back to the plane where all three are now suited up, including Merlin. They're all suited up.
For
And he's like,
once,
okay. He's like, oh, you look good, mate. And he's like, yeah, okay, okay. Here's your weapons.
looking, feeling good.
And he's like, he opens like a secret compartment. After he's given the one, obviously, the briefcase. He's given the
Yeah,
one, the
and
umbrella. And he's opened a
carries the
table,
umbrella.
which has some very American style weapons, which obviously you
The
pointed out.
statesman's ones, yeah.
Yeah, the obviously Brits have all their British style sort of weapons, and the Americans they literally have a baseball grenade and a baseball bat minesweeper.
Yeah.
Which obviously I do like this sort of them having their like, very American weapons, whereas obviously the Brits have their
Mm.
very British weapons. I do like that. It's really quite nice. And obviously, then we see Whiskey in his fighter jet blasting off to the location at top
But
speed.
you missed one of the best bits. Like when man's getting the weapons, he grabs a knife and he goes, and this one, I'm thrusting for me.
You just want to keep doing that
That's
Scottish
fucking
accent,
awesome.
don't you?
Sure,
You
that
just
one
want to
wasn't the
keep
best one, but
you just want to keep trying it though, don't
yeah.
you? Anyway, so stage 3 of the drug uh, occurring is then revealed
hmm
before the boys make their way through the jungle using a minesweeper, which obviously is the baseball bat, as I said. But Eggsy accidentally steps on a mine, forcing Merlin to try and save him. So he reveals the mine from the dirt. He then sprays it with his spray. It's like a freezing
Mm.
agent. It's like, okay, it'll freeze it for a few seconds. We have enough time to run. But as he pushes Eggsy off, he actually steps on the mine himself because he knows obviously they won't make it in time.
Yeah.
And he basically he saves Eggsy. He then tells them that they must get going, and that this is how it began with Eggsy's father obviously saving him and Harry in the
Yeah.
first one. So it's now time for him to save Eggsy and Harry himself, and the two leave before guards begin hearing "Country Road" by John Denver
Country roads,
being sung from the
take me
bushes.
home.
Merlin then cuts away the trees while they're still singing away, and the guy's like, "You got another lawyer coming?" And she's like, "No." Well, there's a
He's
guy here
singing.
singing, and he's like singing, and he obviously starts approaching with the
Yeah.
walkie. She's listening to him over the radio, and
Obviously, quite like
so,
that. Her craziness comes through again, which is like really happily, like excited to see someone that mad who'll be going around singing.
yeah, she's like, "Oh, bring
Oh
him
my
in."
god.
And obviously he tries to get close to him, but he just knocks him out, and just gets the music starts intensifying,
Yeah.
and the others begin getting closer and closer. But as he emits the front line, he removes his foot, killing himself and them. This is a way you want a character to go out. I didn't
Oh
want
yeah,
him to die,
definitely.
but I'm glad this is the way he went out. It's such a great way to shine a spotlight on him and say, this is his
Mm.
moment to shine. He's saving the two characters. He's saving the world. This is how he goes out. I do really like this. And as you say, the fact he's got fucking Country Road singing at the top of his lungs. That, I thumbs up movie.
Fucking brilliant scene. Best
Yeah,
way to kill someone off.
pretty much.
Where
I
it's
mean,
like one of those ways where it's hurt. It hurts to see him die, but it's like a very great way of going that
yeah,
doesn't tarnish. It's like makes all of his previous things that better.
yeah. Shows him that he is really, even though he's obviously the computer
Mhm.
guy, he's still a hero. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
nerds are heroes, guys.
Well, except you.
Why does that put me down?
I need to. It's how I stay. It's how I stay young. I feed off your misery.
I thought you were gonna say that's how I just feed. He's like, I just feed on your sorrow. It's similar to the guy from What We Do in the Shadows TV series. He's a guy who's not
Mm.
like a physical vampire. Doesn't like feed on blood. He feeds on like basically people's sort of being bored of his conversations. He just talk them to. He basically talk them to feed himself. Because he'll talk to him and they just collapse because he's feeding on them. That's literally his vampire power. He's not actually a
Ah,
proper vampire. He's like a weird vampire that is
like
basically
an
just like,
emotional vampire.
yeah, he's basically just like this bald guy with glasses that just like talks to people. And no one wants to talk to him because they know what he's like and they always just run away, but he always catches up with someone. There's actually an episode where he runs into someone who has the same sort of abilities, and he just can't feed off her, and he gets really annoyed because she starts feeding off him, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be with you anymore." He just runs away. But yeah, so yeah, back to this. We haven't said back to this movie once today. We actually haven't swayed off topic apart from there. Wow.
Well,
Anyway,
a few times.
oh, not properly. We've still been on the Kingsman sort of topic, but we swayed away for the first time because you haven't had to say back to this movie yet.
So back to this movie.
Oh fuck. Okay, so Eggsy and Merlin, then sorry, Eggsy and Harry. Merlin's dead. Anyway, back to this movie. Eggsy and Harry basically charge out the bushes and begin shooting with obviously their new weapons. Before we cut to Elton John singing in a colourful outfit. He sings Wednesday, which, as the guard points out, isn't his song since it's Saturday. But he's like, "What day is it today? Wednesday." He then basically beats the crap out of this guard. While the two outside use obviously still using all their weapons. So he's got the briefcase going, it's a gun, and they're using the umbrella to block stuff. And two guards then come in. It's like, "Come on, Elton, calm down." He's like, "Fuck you! Come up here and I'll fuck you up." He then does that slow-mo kung fu kick as he winks at the camera as he knocks out the guards.
Fucking brilliant.
I love Elton John, man, in this movie.
Oh god.
We then see robots getting involved. That's how Robot 1 comes out, but easily dealt with. He's easily killed easily. And Charlie tries to run with the briefcase as Eggsy and Harry get him. Harry's like, go get him. So he tries to deal with Poppy while Eggsy chases obviously Charlie, but she calls it one of her dogs. So while Harry's fighting off a dog, Eggsy's used all his combat skills against Charlie to get this case back. He's getting choked out by his stretchy arm.
Yeah. And then obviously
he gets the case and runs. And inside, Harry sort of manages to use his gadgets to flee the dog into the bowling alley. And he's still trying to stop this dog, but then he's saved by Elton John, accompanied by Rocket Man. It's some Rocket Man players. I was like, for fuck's sake. And so obviously comes up and it's like, he tells him the dog's not allowed to hurt him. And both men basically win their fight. So Eggsy takes control of Charlie's arm and uses it against him, while Harry uses a bowling ball to smash the shit out of the dog's face. But Poppy's like, kill Elton John. And they both then go, let's do this. And they both get a bowling ball and just crush his dog in the head.
And then a little callback to the first film where obviously when Eggsy says, "I'm gonna go save the world," he said the word. If you said the world, can I have a kiss? And say, if you do save the world, I'll give you more than a kiss.
But this time
it's in this film, it's
can I have tickets?
If you save the world, darling, I'll give you a backstage pass.
It's that little wink, that little cheeky wink at the end that cracked me up.
I love the difference between the two. Eggsy gets sex and he gets tickets.
Well, he might be sex afterwards. It's a backstage pass after all.
It is Elton John.
It is Elton John. But anyway,
he's just a juicer for everyone.
Your second dog then comes after Harry, and he obviously is forced into the salon. But Eggsy's fight isn't over yet, as Charlie gets back up. One armless. So Eggsy's like, okay, I'll be a gentleman here. I'll fight you with one arm. And with one arm, basically, Eggsy beats down Charlie, while Harry finally finishes off this second dog by melting it using the gold. It's fucking molten gold. It's going to melt shit.
Oh, yeah.
Melts the dog, and outside, Eggsy eventually snaps Charlie's neck for all the deaths in the organisation has caused. So he literally name drops everyone, and his last name is Merlin. And he goes, and Charlie's dead now.
Unless it comes back with Robot Head.
I feel
like it is a comic book film.
Yeah. I feel like as well, one of my things when I was on about the villain, I'm preferring Sam Jackson's obviously Valentine. I feel like I prefer Sophia Bottella's bad guy in the first one as well. Because obviously, I don't know, I don't really like Charlie as a character.
Yeah, I think in the first one he was more of like this posh prick. Whereas in the second one, he's like more of like he's fallen from grace, shall we say?
Yeah, I just prefer obviously. What was her name in the first one? Gazelle, wasn't it?
Mhm.
I kind of prefer her because I think she's a bit more badass. For the fact that obviously she's got neither one of her legs and she's obviously using this to her advantage.
Mm.
Whereas I think the others copied the fact that obviously she wasn't fully limbed with him.
Mm.
They've obviously done the exact same thing, but obviously you give him an arm instead, which works, but I still prefer her character, I think.
Story wise, though, it kind of
Yeah.
needs it, but like, I think it's more of like a showcasing how kind of good she was, whereas
Yeah.
he's a bit
Shit.
sort of a bit shit. But his
So,
only real like power was he got a more powerful arm now.
yeah.
But even without that arm, he got fucking owned.
And his neck snapped.
Hmm.
So, he basically got General Zodded. The two agents then head back inside after Poppy and they try to get her to tell them the code. But she's like, oh, no, I won't tell you anything. And he injects her with her own drug, but a much more potent dose made by Merlin. She tells him the code, which is...
Viva Las Vegan.
Oh, I knew you were going to say it. So I was like, that's why I stood up. I was like, go on, say it.
Mhm.
And in her drugged state, she tells him the code and basically dies. And I do like the fact Eggsy then's like, I don't actually know as much about drugs as people think I know.
Yeah.
I do like that sort of nod. He's like, yeah, I may be like from the streets, but I don't actually know a lot about drugs.
I mean, the whole thing, like even like his mates, like one of them does drugs, but the other one was like, "I've told you how much like dangerous those shit is.
Yeah, and at the end he's like, oh, I must do this stuff again.
I'm not doing this shit again."
But yeah, so as he's about to type in the code, Whiskey arrives, gets his lasso around Harry's neck and reveals that he's a bad guy. But he's not actually working with Poppy or the president.
No.
He's a lone wolf. He then gives them this tragic backstory where his high school sweetheart, as you say, his girlfriend, was killed alongside her then unborn child
Yep.
by obviously druggies.
Yep.
And he just basically wants to get drugs off the street, no matter the cost.
Mm-hmm.
Eggsy then obviously gives a bad pun.
Oh god, yeah.
He does a my level of pun before
The bright idea.
activating his watch and causes a bright flashing light, allowing the fight to begin. So the two fight Whiskey and his lasso. Yeah, again, as I say, another incredible looking fight scene. I love the music in the background as well. It's
word up country.
Yeah, that at the start, fucking proper like country sort of intro of a cowboy. I do love that sort of. They get the music right over the fight scenes. I will say that. So, Whiskey obviously using his lasso. At one point, he ends up throwing a fucking frying pan off Harry's head, and he tries to choke Eggsy at the exact same time with the lasso. But what he's fighting Harry, throws the handle of the lasso into the mincer, and it begins to obviously pull him in. But this is obviously his downfall, as the two then get the better of him, and they basically lift him up as he's screaming and just slam him into this fucking grinder, and they basically kill him. He goes all the way through.
Yeah, he dies.
And
he did.
They then quickly run over, put the password into the briefcase, and save the world. And the president was obviously then arrested because of these second in command basically saying what he just did. And everything's all good. Back at Statesman, Champ probably reveals that he just brought a distillery in Scotland. So they find their union. I feel like the reason they chose obviously Scotland was because of Merlin.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I did feel like that.
A little nod.
Yeah.
Obviously, like he even like mentioned how like basically American whiskey is bad. But it was like it's nice little nods because obviously it was him who was like saying, "Oh, Scotch is better."
Yeah.
So
I did like obviously that's the way they solidified this union between Statesman and Kingsman.
Yeah, it's free landing.
Yeah, even if it is in Scotland. I've done it again, haven't I?
I've
lost viewers.
Sorry, I lost Scotland.
This is no podcast.
No, fuck.
They then obviously offer the role of Whiskey to one of the Galahads, since it's very confusing. But Ginger throws his name in and is basically voted in. So Ginger is now Agent Whiskey. We then cut to Eggsy and Harry drinking, which is revealed to be at Eggsy's wedding, as he went through with what he said earlier on the phone, where he said, "Once I get through this, I'm gonna be with you forever." And obviously he goes through. We see all his friends, his co-workers. So each of the main Statesman members are there, all cheering and clapping. And we also have Elton John on the fucking piano.
Yeah.
before obviously it
looks like him and Harry got that backstage pass all along.
But yeah, we then cut to a taxi arriving and a very well dressed Channing Tatum. Kind of
Oh
looks
my
like
God.
dressed like Charlie Chaplin minus the mustache. It's when when you see obviously the smart just guy come out, you think, oh, it's gonna be Eggs
Yeah.
or Harry, and then it's just Channing Tatum in his fucking bowler hat and a fucking suit. It kind of cracked me up.
It's a nice little reference as well, because obviously in the before that, obviously when they mentioned about the new Kingsman,
Yeah, Champ's like, oh, they can set you
yeah,
up.
you can take a stuff from them, like learn some manners from them.
So this is literally obviously it walks towards the Kingsman shop and it ends there.
Yeah.
So if this is the end of the modern day timeline, depends obviously on the success of the prequel, because obviously they might expand on the prequels rather than the modern ones. But as I say, if this is the end of obviously Kingsman, the modern ones, I do think it's a very nice end, since we see all the characters that we want have a happy ending. Since obviously Eggs is obviously now married, and everything's all back to the way it was. So obviously, if this is the end, I'll give them props for doing a really nice ending.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nice little send off.
It's like I'd hope there's more of like the modern films.
Yeah. Obviously, if there's not going to be, it's a nice see you later, guys. Sort of
like
one.
From those ones, like the story can continue, but it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
But like the whole thing about this film is the whole thing's a parody on like James Bond and those kind of films, and that like it would be a great way to like keep the joke going by making loads of these films.
Yeah, pretty much. This depends on Taron Egerton.
20 of them.
Obviously, he's become really popular now, so
yeah,
I gotta try and get him then. Cause obviously, a lot of people want him to be Wolverine. That's like a whole thing at the moment.
If not, though, I mean, let's be honest, James Bond, they're all different. There's loads of different types of James Bonds. Have all different types of Eggsies.
They just recast Eggsy. It's like, oh yeah, this is the same Eggsy we've already seen in the 2 movies already. No, it's not.
But it doesn't look. It is. It is.
Why has he got white hair? No, it's Eggsy.
No, that's fucking Sean Connery. It's fucking Eggsy, right?
You get Sean Connery, but you can clearly tell it's like he's supposed to be like a young kid.
It's a young Cockney kid, and it's fucking Sean Connery.
Oh, they need to make that movie right now. I know Sean Connery retired, but they need to make this movie. Anyway,
the recast Eggsy with Elton John.
Oh yeah, he's played Elton. It's time for Elton to play Eggsy. Anyway, I think it's time for the overall. So overall for me, I don't know which I actually prefer. I do really enjoy the first one. But after rewatching this, I found some more love for this one. So again, the fight scenes are just incredible to watch.
Oh, yeah.
They've got really great choreography, and they got a bit more inventive this time, I'd say, with the lasso. It's obviously a nice bit of inventive change. The new cast members, I do really like, especially obviously Pedro Pascal. For me, he was really good in this. The cameo from Elton John as well makes me love this film even more. He's just so funny every time he's on screen. Yeah, the soundtrack for me is obviously very similar to the first one, but for the inclusion of Country Road by John Denver, it just sways you into the good side. So I'm not going to say too much about this soundtrack. It's better than having Bonkers.
So you're fine with Country Roads being repeated 3 times, but you're not okay with it.
It's Country Roads. It's a classic. Bonkers is not a classic.
Bonkers. Is it?
It's not a classic. It's a
child classic. Isn't it for me?
It's a British classic, but not a classic.
Classic.
It's no John Denver's Country Road. It's been used in a lot of films. But yeah, you've put me off where I was now. So there I am. Even though Merlin died, as I said, I did very much like the way he went out. So it's his moment to shine. So, and on top of that, he does not make a bad pun. So.
Oh yeah.
But not to make a bad pun my end. His moment to shine, he very much blew it away.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I misread my notes. That's why I have to say it again. I thought I wrote that he made didn't make a bad pun. I was like, no, wait, sorry, I'm trying to make a bad pun. So anyway, as I said earlier on, the villain this time, Poppy and Charlie, are not as good as Valentine and Gazelle for me. They're good in their own way, but compared to them two, they're not as great. But as you say, you can't really compare to Sam Jackson. You said it yourself. It's Sam Jackson for crying out loud. How the hell are you supposed to fucking try and one up him? So, the story I liked. It was obviously interesting to spend the entire first movie building this organization up, but then just blowing it up in the first like 30 minutes. Very interesting way of doing it, because obviously you don't expect, and you're like, oh no, unless you watch the trailers, of course. But you're like, oh shit, we just spent the entire movie learning about this organization, and now they're dead. What the hell? I do like that sort of story. So, one last note I think as well is, as we said in the first podcast, we praised the living hell out of Colin Firth.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he's as good in this movie. I'm not a big fan of him in this movie. I like him in the second half when he comes back into it. He's trying to learn his coordination. Now I do like that, but obviously with this first storyline of him obviously having amnesia, and obviously,
not remembering who he is.
Yeah, I just don't think he's as cool. I don't think he emits as many like cool like sort of like sentences as he did in the first one. A lot of the first one he had some really like amazing sort of sentences, like quotes, whereas I don't think he massively does in this one.
No.
I just don't think he's as good in this. Then again, it's difficult to top your own performance sometimes. So I'll let him off, but yeah. So for me, my rating here is another 8. So I was originally going to give it a 7, since I didn't think it lived up to the first. But after this watch, I very much enjoyed it more. And besides, obviously, those 2 nitpicks regarding character stuff, I think the rest of the movie does equal the first. But I can't say it beats the first, because the first, obviously, it's just a great spy movie.
Yeah.
This is a good spy movie too, but I'm gonna put it like just below the first slightly, but not too much slightly. But obviously, I don't think it overtakes it at all. But I still think it does a great job of doing it. So yeah, 8 again for me.
Well, I know, like, this film was like critically, not a lot of people. There's a lot of critics didn't like it, didn't they?
Yeah,
because a lot of people thought that there was a very pushy with the their ideal. Because in the first one, the pushy was like, no, the bad thing was like, technology can be quite consuming and take people to mindless zombies. That was obviously their like thing. Then this one, it's more like drugs are bad. So why are these drugs bad? Well, those ones are good. Sort of idea.
Yeah.
Where obviously, I think that actually handled it a lot well. It was more of they gave both perspectives on it in a way. Like they show obviously that Eggsy himself doesn't like drugs and knows how damaging it can be. Where there's the other side with the prime minister's like the woman that's like with the president, not prime minister.
So
yeah,
president.
Yeah, the woman who's the president. Obviously, she's saying like how there's some people that either experimenting or they need it for self-medication. It's given both sides of the story in a way. So I think that they did handle it better than what people realise. And there's a lot of like whole things of the entire film about drugs and addiction. Obviously, it shows the dangers, but it shows like for some people, like a lot of them, they're completely excusing alcohol and that. When obviously, like, even though that is still damaging, but it's like more of a satire in the way of, yeah, drugs are bad, but these ones are okay. But obviously, it's shown that, but not as well, because obviously, Champagne, he's shown to, like he's very subtly shown to be like dealing with some kind of addiction, because he doesn't actually take he didn't drink anything. He spits it back out. He sniffs the cigar. He never actually uses it. There's like a little nod to him, so showing that he'd got some kind of addiction, but doesn't actually take anything. Whereas Poppy, obviously, she dies to her drug thing.
The irony.
Yeah, it's like the mix of the irony, like him being a big like the whole thing of Satan is obviously their cover is their the whiskey stuff. This one is a whiskey and such stuff. Whereas obviously they weren't making as much money as her. Whereas he doesn't actually take any of his things. Well, she died to it, and I did like how they did that. Obviously, the action is exactly the same in the film. It's got the same feeling, and it works well. And like I mentioned before, the different styles of action, like with Statesman and how they fight, the different to the way Kingsman fight, and especially the end fight scene where you see the two like styles mixing together. It is brilliant. I love the action. The music is just as good as the first one. I like the first music in the first one. Okay, but yeah, the Country Roads is fucking top bonkers. I will admit. Okay.
Country Road obviously tops bonkers. Mad to say otherwise. You have to be no bad pun intended, but bonkers.
But I do like bonkers, all right. But yeah, the music was great. A lot of the cinematography is a lot more brighter in a way because obviously we go from gritty England, where everything's dull as fuck, to very bright and colourful America and
Italy.
Cambodia and stuff like that, and Italy. It leans more into the spy films, like with the more different locations instead of just like England and the snow mountain. But it's very good. I love. It's a good sequel. I think it's a good way to like do a sequel. But the reference to the first film, obviously, like how reason why she has Elton John is because of the first film, and it's pretty good. Obviously Merlin, best death scene ever.
R.I.P. Merlin.
Fucking best character ever. Literally, in both films, he was my favourite character. Just because of, well, she's Scottish. And I fucking love Scotland. So yeah, great. Great sequel. And I think, like you said, I think it's on par with the first. I don't really agree with your Harry assessment because I think the whole idea was he's supposed to, while he's got amnesia, he doesn't feel like him. When he does become like Harry again, you see the shift. Like even the way he talks becomes completely different.
Yeah,
He feels like Harry again.
I do like
Obviously, there's the off
that
moments,
plot.
but, yeah.
It's just, I mean, I I prefer to see this awesome Harry rather than this like I'm a butterfly guy.
That's what I mean. I think he becomes better. I think it works even more better because the moment when you see him become Harry, it's more impactful.
Yeah, but I just don't think he reached the same peak of his performance in general. I mean, when he becomes Harry, as he did in the first one, I think he was just a better character in the first one, and his acting as well was a lot better, I believe.
I think it's the same, but like, I think he just become more like Harry in the end.
Difference of opinion.
Yeah, like it's more of like a journey. You do him to become Harry, and obviously, right at the end with Egg's wedding, you can tell now he's now fully Harry. I mean, like even on the plane scene, like he gives a lot of quite emotional talk about, especially about how when he got obviously when he was getting shot by Valentine, he didn't see anything flash through his eyes. He had nothing noteworthy in his life. It was all just the job. Never fell in love. None of the stuff that Eggsy has. Obviously, he's shown to not agree with the way Kingsman runs stuff. Because the whole point of Kingsman was like they didn't let relationships happen. So I think he does become Harry again. It just takes him time. So yeah, I think great sequel, and this is my first one. The first one was 10 out of 10. So if it's on par, and I will agree with myself, it's got to be 10 out of 10 again. I enjoy the film. Okay, Elton John makes it even better as well. But
Give movies 10 for.
for ones that I really like,
Yeah.
you know, I like Kingsman, and you know, I like Scooby Doo too. And when we get to Dora the Explorer, that'll be 10 as well.
If that's a 10 out of 10, I'm just going to walk away. I'll hand the podcast to you. I'm done. Anyway, that gives it a chat. Okay, our rating once again of a 9 out of 10. So I wanted to surprise you with the question of the day. I didn't actually send it yet. I want an honest, on the spot opinion. So my question of the day is: do you think the prequel is actually going to be any good? As we spent 2 movies with these 2 characters, and now we just go watch a movie without them.
I think it will be definitely interesting to watch. It'd be nice to see the history of it, and like we heard about why it was formed, but it'd be nice to actually see it get formed.
Gets evolved more, play Kingsman.
Yeah, but I would obviously like if the film does good, I would still prefer them to do more of the modern
Kingsman
sequel
3.
instead of going more prequels. Obviously, like with X-Men, it worked doing more prequels because
They got too old.
It was getting too old in the
after Last
normal
Stand and Origins of Wolverine.
Yeah,
like I think we need to go back in time a bit.
Prequels were
but then
better.
It eventually reached the same peak of going, well, I think we've reached the same sort of line with the first 3. We eventually hit that same fucking brick wall once again.
I mean, like it'll probably be like Underworld, where they did like the film sequels, and then obviously they did the prequel, then back to more sequels.
1, 2, prequel, 3 and 4 technically.
Yeah, so it probably hopefully a bit more like that, where the prequel's there just for more history.
Yeah,
it's not like the main go continue doing more prequels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we've got the prequel of Kingsman. We'll get the prequel for Kingsman, and that's all we really need, really. I mean, maybe like another one for Statesman, but
that'd be interesting.
That'd be nice, like another spin to see how they come. Because see, like, the Kingsman were a very British, like posh film, whereas Statesman would be more of a very American Western type film. It'd be intriguing to find out.
Okay, then. So that's it for Chatcade Podcast and the Kingsman franchise for a year. Join us next week as we have not but 1, but 2 guests on as we discuss our first video game movie adaptation as we talk Detective Pikachu. But until then, I've been your host, John King Thomas Hughes.
And you know what, Tom? This film was fucking spectacular!
And this has been Chatcade Podcast. My time to shine. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country road.
It's no from me.